FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and you're also watching it if you're seeing this on YouTube. Greetings, everyone. Want you to know we've been watching the situation very closely like everyone else. And unlike everyone else, I'm not buying that this is the end of the world. Now, if you want to think that, feel free, go right ahead. But these pandemics, these flus, influenza outbreaks have been with us since time immemorial. They've been with us, going back to ancient times. And it's just the way life evolves on planet Earth. So look, if you got questions, comments, you want to talk to me, email me, kl@kerrylutz.com. You can also tweet me @KerryLutz. And you can go to the website. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. So getting down to this. So right now, gold we see at $14.78 on the bid. I am talking to you. I should mention that the date is March 19th, 2020. I'm recording this at 12:53 p.m. in the afternoon. And, well, gold... Silver is in a world of hurt. $12 silver. We're looking at a ridiculous gold to silver ratio. I'm not going to even calculate it, but it's like 120 something. I view this as a major opportunity play. I'm not saying buy the dips. I don't believe in that. I've never believed that that is sound advice. It needs to be dependent upon the context of the market, what's going on with the market. Then you buy the dips. But just to buy the dips because the market always goes up, So we've got like zillions of dollars worth of stimulus bills, basically helicopter money. They're talking about $2,000 per person. It could very well go up to $3,500, $5,000 a person before this thing goes through. Look, Congress, no one ever didn't get reelected because they gave away money. That's their job. Their job is redistribution of wealth. They are the redistributors. They are the ones who are going to decide how much you get, how much I get, whether you need it or not. They'll try to do some income limitation cutoff, but hell, you're basically going to get helicopter money. They're doing this not because they really want to help you, but because they're bailing out airlines, they're bailing out Boeing, they're bailing out cruise ship operators, they're bailing out everybody. And a lot of what's happened, a lot of the reason why these companies need bailouts is real simple. They took their surplus profits and rather than holding on to some of them or reinvesting in their businesses, they bought back stock to artificially raise their earnings per share, which then enabled them to jack up their bonuses. So if the government is going to give handouts, corporate welfare to companies that probably should go bankrupt or reorganize in some respect, regardless how big they are, whether it's Boeing, anyone, then there needs to be strings attached. Look, I'm a parent. When my kids would ask me for something and it was a big reach, it always came with strings. And here are the strings that the government should demand. A, if your company needs a bailout, all existing management, senior management must retire immediately. All right? Kick them out. They mismanaged the company. They should not be rewarded for it. Number two is you cannot take any more than a 10% bonus in the next 5 years, or start with no bonus the next year, 2021, and then 5%, 10%, let them go up 5% a year. Okay, but no bonuses to these SOBs because their negligence and their financial malfeasance and recklessness put these companies into harm's way. Maybe Apple, which got $100 billion, could afford unlimited debt, but Boeing couldn't. Boeing took excess profits and borrowed money, $100 billion in the past 10 years to buy back their stock, to jack up the stock price, and thereby garner higher bonuses for executives. This is criminality. It's an abuse of the fiduciary duty that management owes to shareholders, and the government made this possible. It needs to be stopped. Number two is you must refrain from buying back shares forever. Number three is you will give 1/3 preferred stock to the government in exchange for this bailout. Number three, you will have major constraints on your ability to borrow funds recklessly. I mean, I don't want to see the government running these companies, but I want to see the government doing things to make sure that there is good behavior in the markets, all right? To make sure that management acts honorably and in the best interest of shareholders rather than themselves. You look at IBM, again, stock buybacks, GE, stock buybacks. These are companies that are in trouble that should have never, ever been buying shares back. What do? They borrow money at low rates to buy shares back. Wrong way. Okay? I don't want to see the government put a cap on earnings, but any bonus should not be tied to shareholder price. That is a huge mistake. That's what got us into this mess. It should be illegal to incentivize management based upon share price at particular times, because that makes it very susceptible to the manipulation of management. And we all know management has a number of legal and quasi-legal tools available to them to ensure that earnings go up and therefore prices go up. And also, small businesses, I'm not in favor of a total bailout because I could just see the fraud involved here. But small businesses, it's got to be made at a very high price so you don't encourage fraudulent, frivolous borrowing that people will never, ever pay back. Number two is all government loans, no matter whom they might be to, should be have the interest forgiven. Right? Let's get rid of the interest, but only if you are current or you make your loan current within 30 to 90 days. Right? Let's get rid of the interest. Going forward, got to charge them interest. But let's get the government out of these ridiculous lending programs. Number three, so any company that receives a bailout should never receive any more corporate welfare, no more grants, no more research grants, no more change orders. So if there's defense companies involved, they don't get change orders, they don't get corporate welfare. Let's stop giving away $350 to $500 billion per year to these corporations, wealthy corporations that don't need the money. And I'm thinking that maybe this is the time, and hopefully the government will do it. I don't know if they all have the balls or not. I've always been against doing away with the income tax, both for corporations and individuals, because I felt that it put a rein on spending. But now we have no rein on spending. Let's do away, at least for the next 18 months, with all income taxes at every level. And we agree that whatever that amount would have been, the government will print the money up. Because we're going to have a deficit. They're going to be printing anyway. We're heading towards a recession. You know, you listen to Mnuchin, and he sounds like Paulson. He sounds exactly like Hank Paulson when he said that if we don't get the $800 billion subsidy, we're going to have a financial meltdown and all the banks in the United States will close down. This guy's saying, Mnuchin saying we're going to have 20% unemployment. Give me a frickin' break. Just be honest about it and put these measures in place so that these companies can't screw us over any more than they are. And let's take the power away from corporations. Also, if they take a government bailout, 5-year moratorium on any lobbying of any government, state, local, or federal, right? Stop trying to influence the government to do your bidding. It stops now. All lobbying ended. No tax deduction for it. In fact, put on a 500% penalty for any dollar spent for lobbying. Okay, let's get rid of it because that's where the corporate welfare comes from. So let's talk about the Wuhan Chinese Kung Flu virus. Trump was getting a lot of grief for Conway was getting a lot of grief over somebody saying that it was the Kung flu. And I thought that was pretty funny, but it's not racist. And calling it the Chinese virus is not racist. It came from China. It's made in China. All right? It's made in freaking China. So what is wrong with calling it the Chinese virus? And Trump, of course, doubles down on it because he's just not taking that garbage from them. Rightfully so. I'm totally in favor of that. I kind of think Kung Flu is really funny. And if Trump said it, I wish he would just stand up and say, I said it. It was a freaking joke. You liberals, you have no sense of humor. The press doesn't even know what a sense of humor is. Now, I've been telling you that this thing is not the end of the world. Yeah, it could stress our existing emergency room and intensive care ICU facilities in certain states like New York, California, Washington State, potentially. Right now, there's probably 9,000 to 10,000 confirmed cases. But I'm reading this. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to paraphrase it because if I read it, you will be totally bored and then I will lose viewers, and I don't want to do that. So, Israeli Nobel laureate, coronavirus spread is slowing. So this guy, Michael Levitt, praised Israel for its preventative measures. He said most people are naturally immune and that since the infection rate in China is slowing down, the end of the pandemic, and I don't think it's really a pandemic, is near. So the coronavirus epidemic is slowing down in China, not going to pose a risk to the majority of the people. That's what he said. And he's an American, Michael Levitt, an American, British, Israeli biophysicist. So it's not his bailiwick, but he kind of knows numbers. And he won the 2013 Nobel Prize for Chemistry for development of multi-scale models for complex chemical systems. So you can see there is some transferability here. And as he says, although his specialty isn't in epidemiology or virology, he accurately forecast the slowing down of the spread of the virus in February, giving hope to those affected by the lockdown. But as he said, he's not a modern day prophet. He explained that in an interview in the Calculist, Calcalist, that he simply crunched numbers, which is what I've been doing all along. And his wife is a researcher of Chinese art. They've been traveling regularly between America, Israel, and China.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Osino Resources is a Ross Beatty-backed gold exploration company in mining-friendly Namibia. Osino's district-scale land package is situated near two producing gold mines, one of which Osino's management team previously developed and sold to B2 Gold. Osino's founders and management are experienced mining professionals who have already successfully developed and sold two companies in the past 7 years. Osino has a tight share structure, and with its current treasury, it can self-fund the advancement of its gold discovery into at least 2022. This is an exploration company with drills turning that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. Osino trades in New York under the ticker OSIIF and in Toronto under the ticker OSI. To learn more, go to osinoresources.com. That's osinoresources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
So when the virus broke out in the Hubei province, which is Wuhan, he wrote to his Chinese friends in support. When they answered us describing how awful their situation was, I decided to take a deeper look at the numbers in hope of reaching some conclusion. And the rate of infection, which appears to be taking place here in the United States, is about 30% each day, which is very scary. And like he said, I'm not an influenza expert, but I can analyze numbers, and that is exponential growth. Now, I think when the numbers get so high, what happens is the exponential growth stops because the percentage growth in the number of cases daily is going to diminish as the absolute number of cases hits a peak. And we'll know that when we see it. So we had the growth rate continued at that rate, the whole world would have become infected within 90 days. But as he continued to process the numbers, the pattern changed. On February 1, when he first looked at the statistics, the province had 1,800 new cases a day. By February 6th, it had reached 4,700 cases a day. So we're not quite there yet. But then on February 7th, something changed. The number of new infections started to drop linearly and did not stop. A week later, the same thing happened with the number of deaths, which makes sense because first you get infected, then you die. And the dramatic change in the curve marked the median point and enabled better prediction of when the pandemic would end. Based on that, he concluded the situation in all of China will improve in 2 weeks. And indeed, now there are very few new infection cases. Even not believing the Chinese government about anything, you have to admit that it appears all their provisional hospitals have been shut down, the last one, and today they had no new cases. So he likened the trend to like diminishing interest rates, but he said, although there are new cases being reported in China, they represent a fraction of those reported in the early stages. So by plotting the data forward, Levitt has predicted the virus will likely disappear from China by the end of March. And the reason for this is really, really interesting. It's due to the fact that exponential models assume that people with a virus will continue to affect others at a steady rate, which doesn't happen in reality once it peaks. So you don't hug every person you meet on the street now, and you'll avoid meeting face-to-face with someone that has a cold like we did, he said. The more you adhere, the more you can keep infection in check. So under these circumstances, a carrier will only infect 1.5 people every 3 days, and that rate will keep going down. And isolation, social limiting contact, all of that isn't the only factor at play. In Wuhan, the virus, where it first emerged, the whole population theoretically was at risk of becoming infected, but only 3% were. And then we talk about the Diamond Princess ship, which is the first microcosm, and most people were not infected there. There's probably only 20% of the population that could be infected. The rest are naturally immune. And that's what the numbers crunchers are not telling you. Now, obviously, you don't know if you're naturally immune or not, but in most cases, you probably are. You have a 4 in 5 chance, 80% chance of being naturally immune to this disease. Now, obviously, we know the vulnerable population, the immunosystem compromised people, the people with the secondary illnesses, usually they have 2 or more, all are very susceptible. But the Diamond Princess, everyone got exposed, and that was the worst case scenario. Only 20% were affected. And it's a lot, but it's pretty similar to the infection rate of the common flu. So Italy, everyone says, well, what about Italy? And what about Iran? Iran, the culture is they're very close. When they speak, very intimate, getting in your personal space. That's the way they do it there. In Italy, oldest population in Europe, plus, as he said, they have a very rich social life, and for these reasons, it's really important to keep people apart, prevent sick people from coming into contact with healthy people. So, in addition, what Italy has, as my friend Colette calls it, what they have is multi-generational families living under one roof. So the elderly are going to be more susceptible. The kids, the younger ones, are going to be more likely to pick up the virus, thus infecting them and thus taxing the Italian medical system dramatically. So this is what we found here. In addition, so if you want to look at the Hill, not exactly a pro-Trump publication, China reports no new coronavirus cases in Wuhan, probably very few throughout the country. And then going back to the power line, they had an article on the 16th, high temperature and humidity reduce transmission. So believe it or not, we're having this annual thing called spring, or otherwise known as global warming, and relative humidity. So 1% increase in relative humidity will cut down the R by 0.0224. A 1 degree increase in the temperature Celsius will cut down the R by 3.83. And eventually, if that number drops to 1, means the virus is dying off faster than it's producing. So fact is, it hasn't been established yet, but in all likelihood, we are going to see spring and higher temperatures throughout the country reduce the incidence of the coronavirus. So you can give me flames, nasty comments, everything else. I'm not saying it's not serious. What I am telling you is that the seriousness, it's not existential. But I will tell you this. If there's 50,000 deaths throughout the world from it, and that's a lot, and that's a shame, and I feel bad about it for all the families, everybody involved, it's still nowhere near the amount of deaths from the flu every year. And the amount of damage to the economy will lead to divorces, suicides, and drug overdoses, all of these bad things that we saw happen after the Great Recession, which really was a depression. It really never ended from 08 and 09. Look, I'm looking at the CDC right now. They say 36 million to 51 million flu illnesses from October 1 through March 7th. Now, that necessitated 17 to 24 million medical visits and 370,000 to 670,000 hospitalizations, 22,000 to 55,000 deaths. Now, the one thing it says there, and you can look at cdc.gov, just go to flu estimate, it's a preliminary burden estimate. They don't know, and they have no idea what the mortality rate is here. But when you're looking at 51 million cases and 55 million deaths, at the very extreme, it's 0.01. If you're looking at 22,000 deaths and 36 million cases, then it goes well below 0.01. It goes to like 0.07. I'm not doing the math, but it goes way below. So there is a system, a network that covers approximately 8.5% of the U.S. population. But you got to realize those people are all insured. They're hospitals. They can check the hospitals. Probably now they're better on the medical visits, but oftentimes these codes are not accurate with the visit to your doctor. He might put down a cold. He might put down a flu because he gets a higher reimbursement rate, even though you only have a regular cold. So all these things considered, time to not panic. Keep up with your life. Take the precautions. Wash your hands like a madman, like I do. Anytime you touch an animal, anytime you touch a doorknob, anything else, wipe down your doorknobs, wipe down your keyboards, wipe down your mouse. Get those Lysol wipes. I just happened to catch them on sale right before all hell broke loose. So I've been swiping everything, even in my car. Couldn't believe the dirt on my steering wheel. So do that. Anyway, this is Kerry Lutz. Been another Triple Lutz report. Signing off, please email us with your thoughts, kl@kerrylutz.com. Please put your comments on our YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and share, regardless what platform you're on, podcast, YouTube. It really helps me a lot when you do it. We need to get this information out. So many of you out there have been panicked needlessly by people who play with numbers. You know, remember, statistics lie and liars use statistics. And there are lies, damn lies, and there are statistics. Now, you could choose to believe the numbers I quoted or not, but the fact of the matter is, I'll stick with the Nobel laureate before the whole thing got so politicized on the science side. It always was on all the other stuff. But write me, kl@kerrylutz.com. Love to hear your opinion, and make sure you check out our site. Go there, sign up for the free newsletter. It's financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Check out our Facebook page, which is also Financial Survival Network. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.